Good afternoon. Thanks for attending OpenLAN switching, introduction to it. As you can see, I'm Steve Martin. I'm the CEO and founder of Shasta Cloud, and I'll tell you a little bit about Shasta Cloud. I think it will be a very, if you haven't heard of OpenLAN switching, or you have, either way, hopefully this will be a very informative section. I think we have a great set of speakers that will take views into various parts of what we're doing with OpenLAN switching. We made a tremendous amount of progress on it, but hopefully you find this very informative. So without further ado, in terms of agenda for today, certainly I'll give you a bit of an overview as to how we got here, why we started OpenLAN switching and the origins of it. An introduction to Sonic, which is one of the underlying pieces that can be used as part of the OpenLAN switching solution. A deeper dive onto the technology side, so you kind of understand a little bit about the nuts and bolts of how it all comes together. But the great part, and Teng from Edgecore was here to talk a little bit about the roadmap, which I think is really exciting. We started this 15 months ago, and it's becoming very real very quickly. And I think that point will come home to everyone. And then hopefully what I think will be the most interesting part is a roundtable discussion. Chua from AvidThink is here to help lead that discussion, and and hopefully there'll be an opportunity as well for some questions and things like that for any of you that have any questions. So just jumping into it, who is Shasta Cloud? We're a new company. We're, as the name would imply, a cloud services provider. You can think of us as a service provider to the service providers. That's really how we started the company, building on top of things such as OpenWiFi. Providing cloud services and support and the software that goes on the embedded devices, but we're hardware agnostic, and so this is one of the things that differentiates us. And we're providing a service packaged as network as a service, as you will, that a managed service provider of all types can take, and they can resell to their customers, to end enterprise customers. So that's really the origin of the company. And our overall goal is to think about the complete life cycle of solutions, all the pieces that are needed to get together to provide in-building network services, and with that, make the managed service providers much more efficient in the sense of requiring less labor on their part to cobble these solutions together and then bring them to their customers. So that's really the high-level concept behind Shasta Cloud. Just very high level from a systems view, what we're designing is a system that takes into account all the various personas that a typical MSP is going to have, whether it be the finance, sales, project management, the actual on-site support that needs to go to the buildings. How do these people need to interact in order to specify, to order, to procure, to deploy, to install, and to manage, and ultimately to refresh solutions into commercial buildings of all kinds? And so we're trying to think about that from really that process from end to end. And you'll see as we take you through this, we're trying to integrate all those functions and data, and instead of having these traditional silos, have it all as integrated solutions with integrated data in the back end that people can access, and the various personas can access what they need, when they need, as you go through the life cycle of deploying networks into buildings. And supply, again, everything that they need, including, obviously, the networking stack is a part of this, where OpenWiFi and now OpenLAN switching comes into play, and the hardware that supports that, even though we don't make any hardware. So as we thought about putting together this solution, excuse me, one of the pieces we inevitably got to, well, this is great. We'll think about this much more holistic end-to-end solution, but it requires hardware. And I come from hardware manufacturers, if you will, kind of the traditional side of the OEM business, Cisco, Ruckus Wireless, et cetera, where we made bespoke hardware, and this is obviously a departure. We don't make any hardware. Edgecore makes hardware. Other companies are proficient at this. And I believe the hardware commoditization, if you will, is a good thing. The real value is in the chipset manufacturers, in the ODMs, in the guys who are producing, and Kamran will talk about this, into the network operating systems that go on. That's where the value is. Me, I don't add any value to it, so how do we pass those savings on to the end customers? So this makes the promise of white box generally very appealing. More or less cut out the OEM layer because they're not adding any value on the hardware. And so that all sounds great, but then you inevitably, as you think through the problem, and if you participate in the ORAN sessions, you probably hear a lot about this, how does it get reaggregated? So you've disaggregated hardware and software. Well, who reaggregates that? It's one thing if you're talking large carriers, but now we're talking enterprises. Enterprises have little or no, they don't want to do IT. They want to outsource it. They want solutions, right? And so as you think through this, that's the conclusions that we came to, is that, disaggregation for the enterprise, it has its benefits, but somehow it has to be turned back into a solution for the enterprise. And so OpenWiFi was a great building block for this. As we thought about our company, it's like, great, good software stack, a lot of work done there, some great people working on it. Hardware manufacturers lined up to supply white box solutions to this. This is something we can build our model on as a company. But what do we do about switching? There was no comparable solution on the switching side. And so we started to look for how do we come up with a switching solution that has similar attributes to OpenWiFi, disaggregated, open systems, white box with multiple manufacturers, hopefully multiple chipset support, et cetera. And so this is really where we came to OpenLAN switching. So we started the OpenLAN switching project, and we're 15, 16 months into it now. It's now, through the recharter of TIP, has become an official sub-project, if you will, of the OpenLAN project under TIP, where as a companion to OpenWiFi, we'll be able to build, as a community, completely open solutions that really cover all the in-building needs up to the point of the gateway or the modem. And so, for those of you who are interested in this, in terms of being part of this or even just monitoring the progress of this, just to let you know, we do have bi-weekly project meetings. You're welcome to attend if you're a TIP member. Good mix of folks that are involved, from OEMs, chip manufacturers, systems vendors, et cetera. And you can contribute in any number of ways. Obviously, code contributions are always welcome if you want to participate at that level. But if you just want to bring your requirements, if you're a service provider and want to say, hey, I've got these requirements or that requirements, that's perfectly valid and a good contribution as well. But it is a community. We're really, with OpenLAN switching, it has been truly bootstrapped. This has all been community development. We're putting together test beds now, and we're getting 5 different companies are contributing everything from test automation to hardware to actual rack space, et cetera, as we put together validation test beds. So again, welcome the input from you or your companies in this. So with that, and not wanting to take up too much stage time, I want to give you just a brief video which shows how a Shasta solution with white box hardware, OpenWiFi and OpenLAN switching integrated, what does that look like as we act as the reintegration? And certainly there will be other cloud providers and other solution providers that can put together similar solutions. But just to give you a glimpse of, how we see the world evolving, particularly for enterprise applications. Could I have a little volume, please? So using the Shasta cloud solution, basically you fully integrated with white box for the enterprise. You get the hardware from select third-party manufacturers. You order gear, configure the network, connect the equipment, and relax, basically. The Shasta system takes care of the rest. You log into the system to get started. You navigate from the dashboard to our marketplace, which is fully integrated with the solution. You buy everything you need from one piece. You select from fully qualified hardware from multiple manufacturers. Basically, enterprise quality vendors, all at factory direct pricing, packaged as a monthly subscription. And that includes all your cloud services, hardware, everything that you need. And then you build a complete quotation for the actual location where the equipment is deployed, configure it, and go through basic configurations even before the equipment has shipped so that you have the default configuration set. Your network equipment is automatically drop shipped to wherever your actual location is. And it's already pre-provisioned. So all you need to do is really to plug in the equipment, and we have a functioning internet connection, and it will automatically provision itself in minutes. The gear can automatically mix and match. So this is the beauty of having a common network operating system across the multiple vendors. It doesn't have to be one vendor or another. You can mix multiple AP vendors and all connected, in this case, to a Broadcom equipped Edgecore switch running Sonic. And the thing will boot up in a matter of minutes, and you can drink some coffee. This is Tim, who works for me. He enjoyed doing this. So while you're waiting, each piece of equipment securely registered to the cloud over a standard unsecured internet connection, which is an integrated part of OpenWiFi and OpenLAN switching, the zero-touch provisioning. We downloaded the most current version of the firmware, the default provisioning that was previously applied, and you begin normal operations. You've now built and deployed a complex enterprise network, and you're ready for business. And literally, we try to make it this simple. Obviously, you have to physically install the gear. We haven't figured out how to get around that yet, but we're working on it. But basically, with Shasta Cloud and with OpenWiFi and OpenLAN switching, you build a highly scalable enterprise network using third-party hardware, and it's literally that simple. So with that, let me turn over the microphone to Kamran Naqvi, who will give us an introduction into Broadcom and Broadcom Sonic, which is a major piece of this overall solution. Kamran?
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kamran Naqvi. I'm Chief Network Architect at Broadcom, based in the UK. And my main role is to promote our open networking solution and Sonic initiative that we have at Broadcom throughout EMEA. So let me start by introducing Broadcom to somebody if they don't know. We at Broadcom, we are a major manufacturer of networking solutions, specifically semiconductors and infrastructure softwares. We are absolutely a technology company. Most of our employees, including myself, are engineers. We have over 17,000 patents, so we take a lot of pride in our culture of innovation and research and development. You can see the number on the slide. We spend every year over 15% of our revenue on research and development to continue this pace of innovation. That's who we are. That's Broadcom. When it comes to the networking world, most people know us as a manufacturer of merchant silicon. And one of the reasons for that is that all the mega scalers have built their network based on Broadcom silicon. This slide gives you an idea why that is the case. This slide shows a trajectory of what we have been able to achieve over the last 12 years. And that is doubling of bandwidth and density every 18 to 24 months. And every time when we double the bandwidth, we are also reducing the power utilization. Most people looking on this slide, can predict what will be coming in 2024. That's how predictable we have been so far. And when you look at it, it's 80 times bandwidth increase, so that is outpacing Moore's law, and 95% power efficiency increase. What happens is when you double the bandwidth, when you have these efficient silicon, one of the benefits of having these innovative, efficient silicon is that your hardware becomes very simple. Think about it. Even 5 or 6 years ago, if you went out to buy a 128 port, 100 gig switch, you would be buying a multi-chip and a modular chassis, a complex system. Today, you can get all of that in literally a pizza box size form factor. That is the benefit of having efficient silicon. Your hardware becomes much more simpler. And when hardware becomes simpler, writing software, network operating system becomes very simple as well. That is why you see there is a plethora of open source network operating system out there. You may have heard about Stratum from Google. You may have heard about FBOSS from Facebook. But Sonic is the one which has been getting the most traction. Sonic came from Microsoft. They initially developed it for their Azure cloud, but they made it open source in 2017. We at Broadcom have been working with Microsoft on this endeavor since day one. And today, Broadcom is the largest contributor to Sonic and Psi project after Microsoft. And we have not just contributed 2.5 million lines of codes or fixed thousands of bugs to make it a very robust, very hardened operating system. We have enabled new use cases into Sonic. So we developed features like VXLAN EVPN. We developed telemetry features into Sonic. We added a whole new modern management framework into Sonic, which allows Sonic to integrate with any monitoring solution. This management solution also include GNMI framework, which is being leveraged in this OpenLAN switching initiative. If you look at Sonic, one of the reasons why Sonic is getting so much traction is because of its architecture. I intentionally tried to make this slide a bit colorful. I know I was going to speak at a time when many people will be coming after their lunch. And you know what comes after the lunch? It's the sleep. And I also have this God-gifted quality in my voice. When I speak, people feel sleepy. So my wife is happy, my boss is not. So the Sonic is built on a Linux base. And it has this Psi layer, this switch abstraction interface. Psi basically acts as a translator between the operating system and the silicon. Thanks to Psi, that Sonic is a disaggregated network operating system. It works with Broadcom silicon, but it works with Intel silicon, it works with Mellanox silicon, it works with any other silicon. If you just look at the operating system itself, is this working? If you just look at the operating system itself, you will notice that this is a containerized architecture. Each of the major component of the operating system is running in its own Docker container. And it gives two distinct advantages. Number one, it enables serviceability. And number two, it enables extensibility. Serviceability in the sense, think about it, that now if there is a security vulnerability in DHCP feature, or there is a bug in DHCP feature, you do not have to upgrade the whole operating system. You can just patch DHCP container. It's a Docker container, right? We all know how quickly that can be done. And extensibility in the sense that if you want to add new features, you do not have to muck about with the core components of Sonic. You can do all your development of new feature in a container separately. Remember I mentioned that Broadcom developed a new management framework for Sonic. That's exactly what we did. We added a new management container And we did all that development there. And with that management container, as I said, we supported features like GNMI. We supported features like open REST-conf-based APIs. We added a lot of Yang models, so you don't have to do screen scraping or coding to manage Sonic. You can use any standard management solution or orchestration solution to manage Sonic switches. And Sonic has evolved a lot since its inception. This is my last slide, so I'll be finishing in a couple of minutes. Sonic started off at megascalers. So as you can imagine, the initial focus of development of feature was all megascalers. What we did at Broadcom, we started making Sonic more enterprise class. So we started adding features like multi-tenancy, features like enterprise-grade NAT. We added a industry standard CLI to Sonic so that Sonic becomes more user-friendly to enterprise customers. And we also started supporting Sonic on this Trident silicon. So Trident silicon is the one which has the right feeds and speeds and the feature set for the enterprise customers. And over the last 3 to 4 years, we have seen very good traction from enterprise customers. Literally, almost every vertical now has Sonic, customers running Sonic in production. So I can think of education, for example, vertical, where we have reference customers like EPFL, NFHTW, service providers. So in, I think, April this year, I had a session at OCP with Deutsche Telekom where they talked about their deployment of Sonic. I had another session with AT&T where they talked about how they, as a managed service provider, are leveraging Sonic. And now more recently, we have seen deployment of Sonic at financial services customers as well. So there are global banks in UK, in Switzerland, who have deployed this solution in production. And what has been happening more recently is that some of these customers have started coming to us and saying, look, we like what we have done in our data center. Can we use this disruptive solution in our LAN, in our campus network as well? So it made sense to extend Sonic to the campus or edge side as well. But obviously, there was some work to be done. So we supported Sonic on these smaller silicon, these Trident 3 X3 and X2 based silicon. Steve was just showing you a wonderful demo. The switch being used in that demo was running this Trident 3 X3 silicon. And in terms of feature, we have started enabling features like PoE, PoE+, .1x, LLDP Med, and so on. And with this Cloud SDK integration, with this cloud-based management, leveraging this GNMI-based framework in Sonic, it makes it very easy, very efficient for customers to manage all their enterprise switching very easily. Taras is going to talk about in more detail, how this all this U-Central framework is working, all that magic is happening. I'm just going to finish off here with 2 points, where we are going with Sonic in future. Number one, these X3 and X2 based silicon, they have an ARM chipset in them. So what we are planning to do is we are looking to enable SAI on ARM chipset, so you can run Sonic directly on ARM chip. You do not need an x86 based CPU. It will bring down the cost. The second benefit, this will allow us to run Sonic on very small switches, 8-port switches, 16-port switches as well. So that's one direction. The other direction we are going is we are looking to enable Sonic on this Tomahawk 5 silicon, 51.2 terabit silicon. And that is specifically for the use case of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So in that use case, we are looking to enable features like Rocky V2, DLB, and cognitive routing. We have already done some POCs and performance testing with customer, which shows that Ethernet-based fabrics are the best connectivity for AI ML workloads as well. So you can see that Sonic has evolved a lot from its initial inception. You can run it on as large as 51.2 terabits systems, or you can run it on as small as 0.1 terabit systems. Sonic is evolving to become the network operating system, one language that will run on all your switching in future. Thank you very much. I hand over to Teres.
Thank you. So I believe we will use 51.2 tera switches maybe next year. Based on the Wi-Fi speeds we are getting, it should be close. But till then, let's take a look on what's inside OpenLAN switching. I believe lots of you has been already visiting and checking the OpenWiFi world. And basically OpenLAN switching is OpenWiFi for switching. I know it sounds strange, but it's basically what it is. So I had this slide to be added by marketing. Sorry for that. I know it's boring, but I have to go through it quite short. I'm from the company called PLVision. We are a European one. From 2007, open networking is our all business. And we are part of different foundations, TIP, LF, Sonic, Dent, etc. And let's get back to funny stuff. So OpenLAN switching is, as Steve was already saying, it's basically the next step after the OpenWiFi. After each and every Wi-Fi access point, there is a switch. And I believe it will be OpenLAN routing sometime, but still we are talking about switching, so let's concentrate. The whole idea here is to adopt the concept of OpenWiFi and extend them for the switching. Because this, since logical, you cannot build the enterprise network based on OpenWiFi without switching. You still need them, so let's add them as well. So the goals of the OpenLAN switching as the project is, first of all, to replicate the success of OpenWiFi in scope of the platform's availability and options availability. So as we see, we have plans to have from 8 to 48 ports. It's to have the same spirit in the development and in the adoption process, basically open interfaces, open cloud SDK, set of vendors from the hardware perspective, set of cloud providers. So extending the OpenWiFi success to the switching. And the important part is having the PoE++. I believe we all know that when you buy the PoE switch, I still have one like for 10 years ago, and it was good enough. Now it's not. Now you need to have PoE++ for the Wi-Fi 7, and it's just inevitable. You need to replace them. So I believe this is the good timing for OLS to be on the market and allow consumers to utilize this technology. I have a small slide about the Sonic. Why I have slide about Sonic? Because this is the main, at this moment, main technology behind the OLS. So with OpenWiFi, if you compare it, it's OpenWRT. OpenWRT can run on switches. I believe it can. It does great for the Wi-Fi. I don't like it on switches, and it's not capable enough. Let's be honest. It does a good job where it's supposed to be, and it's good for home routers and maybe the small access points, but not for the 51 and 2 tera switch. Maybe at some point we can try, but let's stick with Sonic for now. Especially the way that how much Broadcom did in the Sonic world to enable it to be adopted in that variety of the chipsets. And it's not just Broadcom, let's be honest. It's also Microsoft, Dell, Google, and other big companies that were using this major in their data centers. But now we have the hardened and working operating system, NOS, that does all we need. But there is a catch, there is a difference. If you would take a look on the data center, so usually it's secured, it's cleaned, and it's controlled. It's really unlikely that you will change anything inside your data center in the middle of its lifespan. Usually you are removing everything and replacing with new. So data center is almost always greenfield. There are also some exceptions, but in general, you are starting in control environment, you know what you will have, you know what you're gonna do, you know what you expect from it, you do extensive testing, you know your use case, and it just works. With enterprise networking, there is a nice picture here. It's a bit different. It's always brownfield, always. It's, okay, not always. Sometimes it can be greenfield, but that greenfield turns brownfield next day after it starts because you need to replace something and it's become brownfield anyway. And what is quite easy and simple in data center, like secured management network. You do trust your management network in data center. It's not just secure from networking perspective, it's also physical security. You don't care that someone can bring their laptop and connect it to the switch. It's not happening in data center. It's all closed and controlled. So a different set of functionality needed for the data center and for the campus and enterprise networks. And as Broadcom was doing .1x and other security features which enabled Sonic to run there. And this is how we manage the OLS to integrate it with Sonic. So basically what we did is we took all the nice pieces from the OpenWiFi. We took the ZTP process, so same ZTP over the unsecured internet, same uCentral protocol as the main communication channel. We've utilized the GNMI and GNI interface from the management framework in Sonic, and basically wrote the client that implements the ZTP process and allows Sonic to talk to the cloud via the uCentral protocol. Client, I believe it's also quite interesting point. You would ask why we need client if there is an OpenWiFi which does everything. So OpenWiFi implements everything and it works perfectly for the OpenWiFi use case. But the way how it's integrated to the OpenWRT, so if you would like to remove it from OpenWRT, you need to take half of OpenWRT with you. So we thought it was a tough decision, but we would start from ground up. So we've designed the client basically to be as a simple application because the interfaces helps to do it, to translate from the uCentral to the GNMI and GNI interfaces, which are also open and standard. That's basically implements the zero-touch provisioning, so works with certificates, and it runs as the service in Sonic. So remember a slide about Sonic, where we have the containers, and you can add management framework as a container. That's another one. So if you run it, you have it. If you have certificate, you're OLS capable. However, and yeah, the good thing that it's open source. This is the major achievement. So you can see how it's done, how simple it is. And the most important one, it's simple. And there is really, really minimal dependency. So from the dependency-wise, it's only several C libraries and WebSockets. And what's, I believe, most important part of it, it has defined platform interface. So for the Broadcom Sonic, it uses GNMI, GNI to talk to the Sonic. The engineering team from Edgecore, they took that client and they've managed it to run on non-Sonic system. And I believe Tente will show us or tell us a bit more about it. But the whole idea was, let's have the client not just as a simple application for Sonic, but as the interface where the equipment vendor or software vendor or OS vendor can hook up and enable their devices to do to be compatible with OpenLAN switching. And you can have the best software, you can have the whole functionality, you can claim that you have everything you need, but unless you can prove it, no one will believe it. I know it sounds strange, but testing is the #1 priority, but not testing done in my company's lab, in Broadcom's lab, in Shasta's lab, because no one, okay, it works for Broadcom, for PLVision, for Shasta, but how community can know that this trusted solution? So the testing in a way that how OpenWiFi does testing, there is a community lab that's hosted by Candela Technology, where the OLS devices are going to be hosted, and there will be the set of automated test cases to verify that the requirements of OLS are fulfilled, and I believe even badging at some point. But the whole idea is there is a way available to anyone in the community, to any company that is interested in it, to see how it's done and verify that this is enough for them. And since day zero, to understand that this technology fits. If it doesn't, come to our meetings, we will make it fit. And this is how we get there. So we started in 2022 May. In February, we already have the first POC with the Edgecore platform running Broadcom Sonic. In June, the Edgecore provided the platforms based on the Realtek with uCentral. And Edgecore provided a huge lineup, which I will allow Teng to talk later. I will not steal this from the Teng. And what we are going to do next, first of all, is to finalize and start automated tested in the Candela Tech Lab. I believe the devices is already there, so it's now developed a set of test cases and automation to allow the automated testing in those labs. Extend the platform's availability. It's good that OLS works, but I believe in order to be healthy, we have to have lineup, maybe not 70 as OpenWiFi has, but 20, 30 would be the healthy lineup of the platforms that the customers can select from. And it's extend and add more and more features to the OLS client that might be needed or already needed by the OLS clients. And please join the community calls run by Steve every second week at 8 a.m. Pacific. Start using OLS. It's really simple. You can talk to the Edgecore to get the platforms. And without further ado, I will ask Teng to join me and talk about how.
Okay, I would like to share with everyone the status about the OpenLAN switch ready hardware. We have booth here. We have some like OpenWiFi AP and the OpenLAN switch shown here. We also show the 800 gig data center switch here. So it's our latest product added to our open networking product line. So this first, let's introduce our Edgecore environment with like OpenLAN project group. We joined in early 2020. At that time, it's OpenWiFi. Then we started closely work with the OpenWiFi group to supply our hardware and also support the development and testing. Then shortly after that, we think it will be easier if we can install the OpenWiFi software and the all the thing into the AP. It's easier for customer to adopt and deploy. So we start create we call OpenWiFi skill AP. Then we basically follow every step OpenWiFi is evolving, and we join the OpenLAN switch group, and we create OpenLAN switch skill. So because in real deployment, Wi-Fi AP has a different variety need to be support, like indoor, outdoor, antenna type, small room and meeting room or outdoor national park something. So it's the same thing. Each area we deploy OpenWiFi AP, we need to have an OpenLAN switch. So based on that, we also create different variety of OpenLAN switch on the line. So I'll skip this one. So first I have to share our experience with the OpenWiFi. Then basically we apply the same experience to our OpenLAN switch side. First, we've been working with two types of partner. The first one is a software company partner like Shasta. We know that what they need like already to be used development platform. So we work hard to do that. Then we also another customer we directly support MSP and ISP. We work with our cloud partner to support them. Then to support this two type of customer, we figure out we need to what Edgecore can do to support this project group. First, we are Edgecore As a subsidiary of Teng, we have been building networking product for more than 30 years. We accumulate very experience from the different type of networking scene and work with a lot of tier 1 ODM vendor. Then with the same design team and the quality control process for our OpenWiFi and OpenLAN switch product, then we preload it with the software and the certificate. So when this thing shipped to our customer side, they can follow the procedure, zero-touch provisioning procedure defined by OpenLAN to finish the deployment. Also, our tip skill, we pre-certify with like FCCC and the other like Japan, other several area of certification. So it also can be acquired through our distribution channel. Just quickly update the AP. Right now we show our EAP 105 YSM AP to be ready Q1 next year at our booth. We also show the EAP 101, our new cost-weighted IP55 Wi-Fi 6 AP here. Go to the switch. So for the switch, currently we support OpenLAN switch, the U-Central Agent on 3 type of chipset solution, Broadcom, Naqvi, and Realtek. The reason we need to do is like because for each or some of the congregation, they have their pricing point and the price point we need to meet in order to support our customer. That's why we, in addition to support the community to pull the U-Central to the Broadcom, we also work on with the community to get the U-Central agent from the community to pull on the Naqvi and Realtek platform. Currently, we are supporting from April 24 and 48 port. Then we are working on a 4.1. We pretty soon will announce it in December. So it's a really low cost point that we target for a small chain store deployment. We follow the same experience we learned from OpenWiFi AP. So we also created skill for OpenLAN switch. This just follow up with Taras's presentation. We take the U-Central agent from the Sonic side. Then, but because on the underneath the interface control is different, so our team do a different thing. We do an abstraction on top of our SMP and CRI to control manage our Naqvi and Realtek based platform. Currently, we're in October. We are trying to merge with the Shasta. This way, which means we did this in pair initially. Now we want to maintain the same core base and same interface. So it will be done in October. Then this is currently the solution hardware we support the OpenLAN switch. We have 3 models from Broadcom, Triton S3, and we have 4 models from Naqvi based on the AC5, H5X series. We also have a 2.5G switch from Realtek. Then our team's working on porting this architecture to more hardware platform. Around end of this year, we will have total about like a 20 model that support OpenLAN switch. We'll continue to add in the SIM to the switch. One for the Q2, the ECS 5520 series. This one can be used as aggregation for the OpenLAN switch deployment. So we are also working on that. We have the 5520 dash, I think it's 30S switch at our booth today. This is my update. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to all of our speakers. Hopefully that provided you a pretty broad view on where we are with OpenLAN switching and certainly the progress we've made over a relatively short period of time. And I think you can see just from the sheer number of switches that Edgecore is bringing to market, has brought to market, and is bringing to market that's integrated with the software and cloud solutions. This is really turning into a production-capable solution, as we speak. So with that, I'd like to introduce Roy Chua, and we'll ask the other members to come up here and for an open discussion.
All right, testing. So I think that was pretty useful. I think the audience is probably looking quite excited about OpenLAN switching, or maybe at least is smiling. That's a good start, right? So I thought I'd kick it off with a few questions first, and then don't feel shy about asking whatever question that you have in your mind about OpenLAN switching or OpenWiFi or the combination thereof. I mean, that's what I think we're here for. It's meant to be collaboration. It's meant to be conversations. It's not meant to be a lecture here for sure. So, but let's start. I got a couple of questions just to warm us up or warm the panel up for you. And so I think by the time we'll get your questions, they'll be ready for you. I'll start with really, really simple ones. And I think we've talked a little bit about some of the market traction, what we're seeing out there potentially for something like OpenLAN switching. Let me ask, maybe hypothetical, maybe less hypothetical, and we'll start with Kamran first, and I'm sure the rest of the panelists will jump in. What market segments do you see potential adoption for OpenLAN switching? And have you seen any evidence? I mean, clearly, Broadcom's not going to make stuff up or a project just for fun, given the size of the company you're in, right? So you must have some evidence or inkling of the potential OpenLAN switching, otherwise you wouldn't engage. Maybe, right? But let's see.
I think this type of solution, the benefits of OpenLAN switching type solution shine when somebody is doing scale deployment. Somebody is doing deployment in big volumes. And from that perspective, managed service provider vertical comes into consideration, right? Because these are people, these MSPs, who have hundreds and in some cases thousands of customers. So they are doing mass deployments. And they are agnostic to brands because their SLAs with their customer are tied to metrics like performance or availability. An OpenLAN switching type solution, it gives them certain advantages, not just the cost advantage, but also it provides them the flexibility to customize the solution. It also allows them to build their own automation and monitoring solution on top of that. So based on that, we do see that a lot of initial traction will be coming from these MSP vertical. Another vertical which has shown appetite for these type of solution is retail. So thinking about what Target said, they came to OCP last year and they talked about how they are deploying disaggregated solution to their edge. Looking at what Amazon is doing with Dent initiative. So we do see there is a lot of synergy there, and we do see that this retail vertical will be taking traction in this particular initiative. And the last thing, what I talked about earlier in my presentation, all these, what I would say, synergistic customers who have already deployed disaggregated solution in their data centers. Because in many cases, the decision makers for data center networks and the campus networks are same. And they are already comfortable with these type of solution in their data center. They would like to extend them to their campus, to their edge as well. So these are the three vertical, MSPs, retail, and the synergistic customers where we expect to get early traction.
Makes sense, and I think you must be surely seeing evidence, otherwise you wouldn't make the commitment. Other panelists, anything you want to add in terms of verticals that you've seen traction? And I've heard from Steve, certainly MSP is a interesting market for you. Any other strange markets or indications or inklings that you're seeing in terms of potential OLS candidates? Any anecdotals?
Yeah, no, I think Kamran, certainly summarized it very well in terms of where I would expect we would see early adoption for it. Maybe to take the counterpoint, and I'd be interested in anyone else's on the panel view. I think the challenge with OpenWiFi and with OpenLAN switching will be more in what I would call the larger multinational Fortune 1000 corporations. Yeah. There I would expect to see slower adoption. Mm-hmm. So I think there is a broad section that will readily adopt this and see the value of what we're all doing here and what we're putting together. I think penetrating that other section of the market that which is a large and significant section, will be kind of a next phase that will require some time.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the Fortune 50s or the global 2000s.
Right.
They have existing relationships. They pick their vendors for switching and Wi-Fi, and in some cases, it's the same vendor for both.
Right.
The relationships have lasted a long time, and they will need evidence, right? Because obviously switching is a cost, but it may not be the biggest cost in the IT budget.
Right.
So why take the risk? And connectivity is critical, especially nowadays. Why would you take the LAN down accidentally? Because Terrace pushed the wrong release. I'm kidding. Right? I mean, the CI/CD program would catch
I'm
that.
not
Right?
pushing the release.
Oh, he is, Steve. So Steve pushed the wrong release.
See, we're already pointing fingers.
I know. Yeah, see, that's the advantage.
This is the problem with disaggregation.
No, it's
right?
not a problem. It's the benefit of disaggregation, right? There's no one to blame. Everyone wins.
Right.
Anyhow, so let's keep going. Speaking of sort of OLS and the differences, so we've talked about the use cases, the deployments in retail, and then Kamran, you brought up, is a distributed deployment of many units. It's not concentrated deployment of many units like a data center. Speaking of data center, I know, Terrace, you talked about data center and sort of the OLS market, which is not data center, it's more enterprise. In some cases, it's remote, distributed, even smaller locations, if you will. In terms of the ecosystem that you're working with, right? A lot of the folks here are used to data center type switches, data center fabrics, data center scale. How hard has it been, you think, for people to change their mindset in terms of understanding that it is not data center, this is slightly different market, different feature sets, right? What do you see in terms of OLS members or the community at large in terms of switching that mindset?
I believe that switching from the data center to the enterprise, the hardest part was to understand that usually the customer that utilizes this or uses this in their solutions has no idea what is that, and they don't care what is that. They want to have solution done. And there is not just disaggregation software, hardware, it's also labor. Usually the installation is done by people that knows nothing about networking. There is a floor plan, put it there, connect it there. And if you can make it happen through some magic, let's say, for now, because usually for now, for those, it's a magic. You connect it, everything just works. And to understand that it's not about how good the specific protocol or specific hardware or specific features, but how it combines, how we can leverage, for example, OpenWiFi AP connected to switch to have some value-added service, how we can leverage the switch to recover AP, for example, and other things. So now it's changing from this device-centric to the system-centric level.
I think that is fair, right? Yeah, in the data center, you're evaluating the switches based on the size of the buffers, right? Based on do you support ECMP, blah 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 blah. And fundamentally, you're right. In a retail store and MSP deployment is how do I troubleshoot this faster? How do I turn it on faster? How do I make sure that it works? It's reliable, right? It's a different way of thinking about it, right? And anything else to add, rest of the panelists, in terms of the mindset change that you have to take when you come into the OLS project, if you will, versus historically even Sonic, right? In the data center, the mindset is a little different, right?
It's true. I mean, in terms of campus, it's a very cost-sensitive market.
Yes.
So, as a vendor of silicon, we have to always be aware that, what we are making in this, in case of data center, we are doubling the bandwidth and people are loving it and they want to pay the cost for it, right? When it comes to campus, when it comes to edge, it's a cost-sensitive market. We have to think about how we can provide the right level of features. It's not about shoving a lot of feature. You have to provide the right features at the right level to win this market.
Yeah, that's true. You can't shove a 51.2 terabit and say, here, look, cost per bit is really low. Yeah, don't worry about the price, just worry about the cost per bit, right? Exactly. On your campus. I know you're not going to use 99% of the capacity, but think about next year, right? Yeah, that does, not going to do that. I think that's fair. Yeah, well, everyone needs a 51.2 terabit in their homes, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think you do, right? I think Steve would like it.
I wouldn't be so, I do remember time when terabit was huge.
Right.
I mean, I've seen the first terabit switch. It was
Oh, I remember. Yeah, we were that old, young. I don't know.
Maybe 5 more years.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe we're at 51.2, right? When we hit 1.6, like, oh my God, it's 1.6, right? And then it just kept going and never stopped, right? So, but now we get to like, well, you don't maybe need all that, and we're now going to give it to you more cost effectively in a manageable way, right? I think that's going to be really interesting. So OLS is here. Clearly, it's very here. I mean, I think Ty is not going to put up that roadmap with that many switches. I have to say, for me, seeing the number of switches that were committed in the roadmap, putting on a slide so that everyone can see it and know it's coming, that was quite a dramatic thing for me, right? Because Broadcom supporting it one thing, and then Edgecore coming in and say, yeah, all these switches are going to be OLS enabled. That's a huge commitment. So Steve, how is that changing the market? I mean, obviously you must be happy because you now have ecosystem, supply chain providers, on the software side, on the silicon side, on the hardware side. You have all these things to play with, and that must be great from your point, your standpoint. And how's that changing the market? Are people's thinking about adoption of OLS?
Well, I think the OLS and OpenWiFi certainly require some mindset changes at each stage of the process, if you will. And this is obviously something that is in progress today, but if you think about it from an ODM and manufacturer side, moving from, and I don't know this is complete, I think we're at the start of the journey, but moving from a model where as an OEM I would go to Teng and say, I want you to build this for me and put my name on it, and I would tell you what speeds and feeds, et cetera, I need. There's a mindset change there where the Edgecores of the world need to anticipate what the broader market is going to need and build SKUs that are not bespoke to one OEM or another, but that they feel will satisfy the broader set of the market requirements because they want to sell that same OLS-enabled switch to a bunch of different people. And the advantage for them is they build it once, they sell it to many, many different people. The advantage for managed service providers and all the rest of us as and businesses, consumers of that, is we get the advantages of, that white box model, lower cost model, but still have this level of quality, functionality, et cetera. So there's a mindset change there, certainly at the ODMs, to really lean into and embrace this model in a meaningful way. I think for, companies like Shasta, I came from the traditional OEM side, and moving as we clearly have and we are to, we're hardware agnostic. I care about hardware. I talk to Teng pretty regularly and try to influence what they do because I try to speak for our customers, if you will. But the mindset on my part and our part as a company is that hardware is extremely important. It's critical. I mean, they haven't figured out how to virtualize access points or switches yet. So, it's the one piece of hardware remaining on-prem and will be for the foreseeable future. So, but not actually, so being effectively supporting hardware, but not being directly responsible for it is a mindset difference. I think we touched on this in maybe some previous sessions, though. You get to the customer level, and this goes maybe to the previous comments in terms of market adoption, is not getting, let's say, well-known branded hardware and the acceptance of that by the actual businesses, enterprise, managed service providers. That's a mindset shift. Right. If you're the IT guy at a shop, and this is why I say Fortune 1000 or whatever will be a little slower to adopt, saying, oh yeah, I put in Edgecore, it's just as good as Cisco or whatever, that's a brave move. Yeah. Now we have confidence in that because we know underneath that, we know Edgecore builds great switches, they have great Broadcom silicon, they're running a hardened Sonic network operating system. So we know and have confidence that that's going to be a solid solution. But I think it will require a mindset change, from the market itself to really embrace this.
Yeah, I think it is happening in terms of, as as the maturity of a certain piece of technology grows, the advantage is that then you care less about the brand of the technology than what it's capable of and what it gives you business value-wise. The relationships remain, but slightly different. From an MSP standpoint, you trust that an MSP is going to give you the service level agreement that they signed up for. And at some point, which is, we know kind of Wi-Fi, we kind of know switching is not some newfangled technology, and so the reality is that it's an MSP problem at the end of the day. So I commission the MSP, and the MSP will do the right thing for me. And I think as we've had the conversations, from an MSP perspective, it gives you a chance to differentiate. It gives you a chance to build on a foundation that gives you the basic capabilities, so you don't have to do that heavy lift. But now you can innovate, which is actually, it opens up the ecosystem potentially for innovation and cool new services that run on top of the switching platform or the Wi-Fi platform, as it were, right? So it's a very, very interesting. Now, we keep talking about OLS in the context of OpenWiFi, although down the group is OpenLAN, right? So it's more all-encompassing, right, so to speak. And we keep talking about that. So maybe, Teng, you have a vested interest on both sides, right? You engage with OpenWiFi first and then OpenLAN switching. There are synergies. But so let me ask about combined solutions, right? Certainly you can take OLS on its own. You can take OpenWiFi on its own, and obviously OpenWiFi was really kind of there. What synergies are you seeing in terms of the two, right? You have both products in your portfolio.
Okay. When we discuss what kind of switch we want to support OpenLAN switch, basically we follow the OpenWiFi deployment case. For every AP there, most of them will require switch behind them. So basically we learn and analyze until now what OpenWiFi has been deployed in different cases. So that's why we think even we love Sunny very much, we still need to, Sunny cannot run on every platform, we need to have other switch. So we decided as Edgecore, not just a hardware provider, we also need to invest some of our software resources into include those switch on the OpenLAN switch. And with on the edge deployment side, the most common one is the wireless, right? And all these two had to be, from the management point of view, had to be managed in a tree at the same network device. There definitely are some dependence.
Sure.
You set something on the Wi-Fi AP, you have to set similar thing on the switch. And sometimes for example, you want to for example, a simple example, you want to build the network topology. Then if AP and switch all running some certain protocol like LDP, you might be able to automatically generate topology information for your cloud controller to do that. That's one thing, right? And some of that in more advanced feature, you might be able to use the switch hardware to offload some of the processing from the switch on the AP.
Sure.
Your AP usually has limited processing power, depending on, because his main focus is to provide wireless access, right?
Right.
Not to do a lot of picky processing.
Sure.
And those things, some of them we can upload to a switch like a bandwidth management. So it's a good thing. Most of the switch hardware can do that in hardware.
Right.
So that kind of thing, I think more synergy can be found through the community to do the deeper integration. And most of them can be done because now they are managed under the same cloud controller.
Yeah, but I think that makes a lot of sense, because on the one hand, you could say, I just need a dumb switch, so to speak, and just give it power and connectivity, and it's good.
For example, you want to just restart the AP,
Yeah.
control PLE budget.
That's right.
You
That's
need to
true.
have something, right?
That's true. That's true. Even as simple as that, you still need
Right.
some intelligence over the PoE control
Right.
on PoE plus, PoE plus because you needed those extra watts. My son keeps telling me I don't need PoE plus, but that's a different story. Anyway, but yeah, I hear that, and you are right. With the synergies between the two, you can decide how to configure it. Do you trunk it? Which SSID match to which VLAN, and with the appropriate ARM processors or other processors in place, you could do inspection, you could do categorization, you could do quality of service,
Right.
combine, right, in both that,
Right.
or network segmentation down to micro-segmentation across both as well. So very interesting. I think there's this whole, we haven't talked about it, we did it in the promotions, but there's this whole campus NAS or campus network as a service, so that the combination, right, as a managed service, LAN and Wi-Fi and potentially WAN as well, right, where you can have managed networks, MSP managed networks, fully as a service. And it's not a new thing. There's at least 3 or 4 startups in there, one of whom is Shasta Cloud, I heard, something like that. Anyway, interesting space. Yeah. So let me ask the reverse question, which is that if OLS doesn't get traction, unlikely that it won't given the number of switches coming available. Let's say it didn't, right? Do you see a reverse impact on OpenWiFi? And since Teng just talked, I'll ask Teres that. God forbid, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
it's not going to happen, but
look,
just in case. Right?
Any technology can fail. Any open source project can fail. It's clear. We are on the beginning. We do have a lot of traction. That's clear, but it's not happened. But the possibilities are huge as of now, and we do see that it's coming step by step to more mature product. I believe that in case OLS will not succeed, it would have negative impact on the OpenWiFi, because as we already identified, after almost each and every Wi-Fi there is a switch, and if you cannot use that technology to run the switch, means you would need to use another technology. So basically, that technology will come up with OpenWiFi.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if that fails, would you use a Cisco switch to control your OpenWiFi? Teng Tai? No.
I think as a way, I think there is a fundamental value. You have the single major interface for both wire and wireless, right?
Yes.
Given today, if today's OpenLAN switch approach is not that suitable, we'll find new approach.
Yeah.
Definitely, we need to combine both major under the same interface.
Yep. I think if it doesn't get traction, OLS 2.0 will come, right? No matter what. I think that's by definition, it has to, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I mean, just for the record, even as an independent analyst, I see the value of a converged campus managed solution, right? And I think it makes absolute sense. And there's a lot of money from the VCs that are betting the same way. And if John Chambers and Pankaj Patel are looking at that, and Steve Martin and Doron Gavoni are looking at that, then I believe that there is something here for sure, right? To be looking
Well, and as I described in kind of my overview, that's, I'm obviously driving this and working as an open source community-based effort, but but it's also selfish. I'm trying to make Shasta Cloud successful, right? And I think you can do both. In fact, I see those as very synergistic. It's a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing. But what drove us to this and is because we do see that you need both for a complete solution. OpenWiFi was great, but it wasn't enough on its own. And the very commercial reasons for that, which I think many of you probably appreciate, we would talk to customers, hey, Steve, this sounds great. You're going to do this cloud solution. You're going to do this open Wi-Fi. You're going to bring all these APs. That sounds great, but let's see. I still need switching, so I'm going to go back to Meraki or Aruba or whoever, whoever their other solution provider might be. And the blunt answer was, well, if I have to buy switching from them, I'm going to buy the Wi-Fi from
why
them
not?
too. I'm not going to split it between 2 vendors. And so I think that's just the market reality.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So given that it seems like it should happen, it is happening, right? What are the challenges, Kamran? Let me ask. What are you seeing? I know that you're looking at silicon, but clearly you're looking beyond that because you're making decisions, right? $billion decisions that that have impact, right? So
I think challenges for OpenLAN switching type solution, they're very similar to what you will see in any open source solution. It's simple. It's number one is everybody will look at ecosystem. Do we have a robust ecosystem? If there is, people will come in droves. If they don't see that, they will be a little bit shy. So we have to develop that ecosystem, and I'm sure everybody, including myself, was encouraged to see what Teng was showing in his slides. And I'm sure that more players will come in and build this ecosystem. And the second thing is, it's always the elephant in the room, and that's support. I've been talking to customers about Sonic, for example, for the last 4 years. And this is a consistent story that I hear, that okay, this is a good solution, but look, I am not Microsoft. I am not Amazon. We do not have a 200 software engineers team. Who's going to provide the support for it, right? People always like a single throat to choke, right? So in case of Sonic, there is that ecosystem. So Dell is providing the support. There are these boutique companies like Stordis who are providing support. So we need to build similar type of ecosystem around OLS as well. So I think if we can address these two challenges, I see this initiative becoming very, very successful in near future.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. The S word, right, the support word is a big thing. But that's why we have people like Shasta Cloud. They are the one shoulder to pad, not the throat to choke or whatever, right? So Steve, what are the challenges in getting to market? What do you see?
Well, I think it's been covered reasonably. Getting, as you said, and one of the things that attracted us to Sonic when we originally started looking, just to amplify a little bit Kamran's comment, is we looked around at Dent and we looked around at, certainly OpenWRT as an example. We looked at Sonic and, surveyed the market in terms of what could be the fundamental network operating system that we would use as an anchor for this. And a key was the community support and the obviously ecosystem growth and vibrancy of the Sonic community. And so that was huge. Honestly, we looked at Dent, and Dent was very interesting, and it had some technical attributes which were interesting, but it didn't have the same kind of level of community support and momentum. And we wanted to ride a horse that was, had momentum behind it. And so I think that's going to be, and that's what we're attempting to do here, obviously, and we will continue to do, is to drive support for OLS, build the community, and that just naturally attracts that much more interest and growth. It's very synergistic.
Agreed, and I think speaking of community, so let me just ask, I think I'll go this way, which is, what's if you could wave a magic wand and get some folks to join the OLS community, right? What kind of folks would it be? Feel free to name. I mean, you could name Cisco, Arista, Juniper if you want, but you don't have to. But but maybe realistically, who would you like to come into the community, and what would you like them to contribute, right? So let's start with Taras, and then we'll go down this way.
I believe more like MSP side. I believe taking from the engineering point of view, we have all the best people available, but to make it successful, it has to be adopted and used, and to make it adopted, we need to understand what the market needs. So market feedback is the #1 priority.
Right, market feedback, MSPs.
Yeah, I was going to say MSP. I was thinking why I'm sitting on this chair. I should be there, right?
Yeah.
MSPs definitely. And as I said, growing the overall ecosystem, both things. More people providing support, more people providing more hardware.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and you are correct. That Steve's got the hardest job, because as he's thinking, he's like, oh my God, that answer just got taken from me. Got to come up with a new one. That answer got taken from me. Got to come up with a new one. So Teng Tai and then Steve is churning right now. So take one of his answers, please.
Yeah, from the hardware point of view, we'd like to see more chipset vendors support this architecture.
I think that's fair. Steve.
It all begins and ends with customers and deployments. And to the extent that this gets deployed and is successful and customers get religious, if you will, about, hey, this is really working for me, and they pass that word, there's nothing that drives the market and drives the vendor ecosystem. Dollars make the world go round, right? I mean, that's the world we live in. And people vote, with their dollars. And so to the extent that we begin to attract marquee accounts that win and you successfully deploy this and start talking about it, I think that drives the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, dollars do speak at the end of the day. So at this point, I'd like to turn to the audience and see if the audience has any pressing questions for the panel, or if there's MSPs in the audience ready to sign up. We'd love to take the order right now as well. Minimum order quantity of whatever it is. Right? But questions. Someone must have a compelling question that you're dying to ask. Jack, go ahead.
So just a statement real quick, and then a question related to that, which is, I agree. The addition of OpenLAN has been great for the overall ecosystem. I think it takes away a reason to not do OpenWiFi. In addition to that, it adds a few use cases on why you would use this whole solution. You can either need switches, and there's a low-cost option there, and if you're going to buy the switch, might as well buy the APs along with it, and vice versa. So I think it's been a great addition, and it really provided a lot of value overall. I guess my question, and maybe to Steve, because you were instrumental in kind of pushing this, from the customer view, what else could OpenLAN hold inside of it that would even increase the value of the overall OpenLAN ecosystem more?
Well, I voiced this the other day. I think that, the overall, we call it internally badging program, building a certification program for interoperability so that when someone claims they are OLS compliant or OpenWiFi compliant, to the market, there is a strong signal that I can take this AP or that AP or this switch, and I can plug it into anybody's cloud solution that also claims OpenWiFi or OpenLAN switching compliant, and I can reasonably expect it to work. We all know, and that right now it's a little bit the wild, wild west, honestly. But I think everyone is working hard to mature the system. But I think getting some sort of basic interoperability certification where enterprises can look with some level of confidence that I can get these different things from different vendors and have them work. To me, that's the next big key.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Anyone else want to add to that? No? All right, next question. Next pressing, compelling question for the panel. Yep, good. Yeah, go there and then next. Yeah. Yeah.
Hiya. Could you give us a little bit of information about what the feature set is that's supported by the OLS switches at the moment? So can they do things like layer 3 routing, or is it just restricted to more basic layer 2 features at the moment?
It's somewhat, and I think Taras can probably take a little deeper dive in it, but right now it's it's limited by which network operating system, because we're supporting multiple network operating systems, multiple chipset, which is a good thing. There's choice. We're a little bit limited right now, but that'll rapidly be changing by getting the configuration in the cloud solutions, the fundamental capabilities in the switches, but we have to work through enabling this uCentral integration. Taras?
Yeah, I can say that just logically, Sonic came from data center. Routing is the king there, so you can do everything there. The question: do you really need it? And then it's all about how to integrate. As of now, the OLS schema, which is also open sourced, do provide the ability for static routing on the OLS switch, SVI, as far as I remember, DHCP relay, and all this stuff. So it's not yet dynamic routing available, but it's only because there is no needed use case. So no one
compile FRR and put it on.
No, it's already it's
pre-compiled, right? I mean,
you have it on Sonic.
Yeah, FRR runs on that, right? So
Yeah. So there's,
yeah, you can add FRR and
exactly. The capability is already there. So on Sonic, on the silicon, on the switch, the capability is already there. I think it just need to be enabled on the uCentral, and that's it. Off you go.
Yeah, I guess that was my question.
So basically, you're looking for you.
Oh yeah, as of now, static routing is available already in the client as well. I believe this is something we should work on the next.
Yeah, open roadmap. Or you could contribute code to configure, make sure that uCentral works with the FRR stack that's running on that.
And
that
so,
could be next week. Right?
Yeah, and so to that point, and I talked about community involvement, and certainly it can be in the form of requirements. We have a roadmap, and we're working that roadmap really collectively across all the various components. But to the extent that you have a use case, please just email me or anyone on the panel here, and we'll talk about why you need that, and because we like to understand the use case, and then get that into the roadmap. You know, the roadmap is dynamic and it's really based on what the market needs are.
Excellent. Thank you.
Or join the bi-weekly calls and speak up. That'd be great too.
Because the calls are open in tip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need to be the tip member.
You need to be a tip member.
You need to be a tip
Join
member.
tip. Sorry. Join tip first, then join the calls.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be that hard. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, you mentioned about the interop. Is there a test plan on your website that you can get the test plan and try to test our product, make sure that we can interop?
We're, and Dross, I think, touched on this. This is the part that we're putting into place right now is we're starting to build the test bed and the test plan. So the short answer is no, not today. But if you fast forward 2 or 3 months, certainly by the end of the year, I would expect that you'll be able to access the test plan, you know, in open source, so you can see what the test automation is, see what the test cases are, see if that covers the things that matter to you, and
if not, contribute to it.
And if not, then contribute to it, whether it's by requirements or actually just adding test cases into the code. But you know, I think we're making rapid progress on that, and by the end of the year, we'll have kind of the basic CI/CD pipeline, et cetera, all set up and test automation in place.
Yeah, so my follow-up question is it a requirement to run on Sonic to be OS compliant?
No. I mean, we're supporting 3 different operating systems today, Teng, Tai?
Right. There are 2 Mobile and Realtek.
Oh, thanks.
I think the one difference I think we probably should point it out is that it's a little different from the OpenWiFi stack. The OLS stack is a little different from the OpenWiFi stack. There is more flexibility in terms of the architecture, as you saw in Teng Tai's little slide there, that the abstraction layer is such that you can plug in other NOSes in there. It doesn't have to be Sonic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually I think, and Roy and I talked about this earlier, I think, you know, with relative to switching, this is a huge advantage. We're just developing as part of the open source the management plugin. The network operating systems, the silicon, the switching, these are all proven solutions. OpenWiFi is a little different. We literally did the whole software stack from scratch, or more or less OpenWRT, and adapted it. This is different. We're taking hardened network operating systems on hardened production quality switch and silicon and adding a management interface. It's a much different level of interaction.
If you wanted to, and if you really felt like you wanted to, with the APIs available in some of the commercial switches, Cisco or Juniper, you could port an agent to run on those.
In theory, yes.
Yeah, in theory, right? Yeah, it doesn't stop you. Right. Yeah, we could have...
You still need certificates.
Yeah, the certificate. You need a certificate to identify the switch.
So we need to join TIP, then join the call, then you can get certificate.
That's right. Get a certificate. So yeah, 3 steps: join TIP, join the call, get your cert issued to you so that you can be identified. Then put the cert in your agent, load the agent on a container on a Cisco, Juniper, Arista switch, have it controlled via uCentral from the cloud solution, and now you can have a multi-vendor, multi-silicon, multi-NOS solution, and then next year at Fyuz you'll be presenting it, and the audience here will be huge, and they'll be applauding you, right? So that's the roadmap.
That sounds like a science project.
That's a quite, okay. We'll see it next year, thank. All right, great.
You for paying more than saying that.
Yeah.
Or just by Edgecore.
Or just by Edgecore, exactly.
As the company.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I mean, I have to say, I think one of the compelling things I'm seeing here is like OpenWiFi obviously was compelling, but given the network as a service capabilities for campus, right, to have the innovation layer available to you without a heavy lift, because these guys have done the heavy lift for you to drive the innovation layer for network as a service, I think that's very interesting. So managed network as a service, I'm seeing traction from customers because they're tired of configuring switches and Wi-Fi and all these things. And really, we're at a point where automation should win, right? Some of the AI, ML, not the Gen AI stuff. I don't want to chat to my Wi-Fi AP, but I would like AI, ML to automate this and manage this on my behalf. And there should be no reason why we can't build it. And now you don't have to do the heavy lift. You could build that on top, as Shasta is doing, or as an MSP, provide a managed service, right? Where you add your true value, not rework the whole thing again, right? So. I know now I sound like an ad for OLS. Yeah.
But you can also aggregate. So keep in mind that previously you have OpenWiFi as the object within OpenWiFi controller. Now you have each and every Wi-Fi directly connected with the link to your managed switch. So the possibilities are endless. You can have something running on your OpenWiFi, something running on a switch, do some fancy logic to, I don't know, fast migration, or some other stuff.
Yep.
It's within your same management. You control both, and you can then, it's remote one. So how you can recover it, it's also a big of the deal. So now you have not only one management point, you still have another one through the switch.
Yeah, you could do coordination. You could do load balancing through your switching layer with your Wi-Fi in conjunction, right? That would be pretty interesting. I got a 4x4 here. I got a 2x2 here. I can play around with it, right? Based on the RSSI or whatever, right? So a lot of new possibilities. I'm sure Shasta's already thinking about it, already implemented it. But anyhow, but yeah, questions from the audience. Everyone ready to put OLS in your home and your offices? It's almost available, yeah.
In your customer's office.
In your customer's offices. Start an MSP. You could make money as an MSP selling OLS with OpenWiFi today. Right? Questions anymore? No? Everyone happy? Everyone good? Everyone understand the whole stack? Good. Very good. Well, let's put our hands together and thank the experts here on the panel. I really appreciate it. And audience, thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.